Well, my friends, it has been a year, and I know I've said that many times when I've opened up the broadcast, but it's true. And over the past year, you have implemented so many changes into your business, whether it was out of necessity to keep things afloat, or maybe you saw the opportunity to make some big changes that you had been considering. And with all the things that happened last year, you finally got the guts to do it. No matter what the reason was for the changes that you've implemented in the past year, it's now time to start considering what will you keep as you move forward. And so that's what we're examining today. We're looking at what are the changes that we've made in our business and identifying what's been positive, what do we want to keep, what are the benefits of these things to my clients, and how can I keep them moving forward. Because I've been seeing some really interesting conversations happening in forums lately about teachers who are considering moving to an online model or staying with an online model in the future, or other changes that they've implemented and they're thinking, I really want to keep these and I just don't know how to do it. So we're going to be looking at a simple process that you can go through over the next month and identify the changes that you want to keep and learn how to roll those out into your studio. P.S. You've probably already rolled them out into your studio, so it's just a matter of keeping them. So it's not as hard as you think. So if you are here with me live, be sure to say hello and let me know where you're tuning in from. And if you're watching this later on Facebook or maybe YouTube, I just want to say hi to the YouTube viewers. Make sure that you say hello and let us know where you're coming in from and tell us about the changes that you've made in your studio. And don't forget to click that subscribe button. All right, so welcome to the broadcast, everyone. My name is Sara Campbell. I am a business strategist, mindset, and marketing coach for music studio owners and online education experts just like you. And I go live here every single Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern, where we talk about all those things. We talk about what does it take to run a music studio business? What are the strategies that we can use? What are the mindsets that we need to have in place in order to be a healthy and happy business owner? And of course, we talk about marketing stuff as well, because it's one of my passions. So I want to say good morning here. I see Kathy's tuning in from Wichita. We have Julie. We have Pete from Fort Worth, Texas. Leishan's tuning in from Tacoma, Washington. Hey there, Janet from Lancaster. And hello, Laura and Elizabeth. Nice to see you all. Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in today. All right. If you have a music teacher friend who you think needs to be a part of these weekly conversations, I invite you to let them know about this right now. If you have somebody who you would like to support, because we are all in this together. And as you guys know, I firmly believe that there are enough music students in this world to fill every single music studio. We are not in competition with one another. We are here as a community of teachers, and that's what I love so much about you guys who are here right now. All right, so let's get to what are we talking about today. We're looking at how to identify the changes that we've made in our studio and to start thinking forward and to consider what are the changes that you're going to keep. Because I know a lot of you, myself included, are starting to consider what does it look like as we get back to quote unquote normal, right? And we know it's not going to be the same, but what are we going to keep as we move forward? How are we going to proceed? And so we want to consider all of the things that we've learned in the past year and think about what are the things that will benefit my studio as we move forward. Now, we love to learn out loud here. So if you find something in this broadcast that is of value to you, or if you want to set your intention and put it out into the universe and, say, hey, I'm going to be doing this, give us a hashtag takeaway and let us know what was your favorite tip from today. I do have the Savvy Sara bot set up for those of you who are on the Book of Face. So if you drop a change below, then she will message you here on Messenger and she will give you the show notes from today. She's also going to give you a link to a blog post that I find absolutely fascinating, and we're going to be talking about that in a minute here. And she'll let you opt in for messenger reminders for next week. So make sure to drop a changes if you'd like to get a hold of all those goodies. If you are watching this on YouTube, look into the description below and you'll be able to get a handle on those things. All right, so let's get to the good stuff. Hey there, Katya and Sally and Cheryl. Nice to see you. Good to see you today. So let's talk about change. Y'all have been through a lot of change in the past year. Myself included here. We have pivoted our businesses so that we could be successful. And first, I just want to stop and celebrate how amazing you are and all of the hard things that you've done last year, whether you were able to pivot in a split second because you already had your online platforms in place, or even if it took you a hot minute to figure out all the things and to sort out the tech and to be able to bring your clients on board. I just want you to stop and celebrate. For many of us, we have now been online for a whole entire year. And what's amazing is that in the teachers that I've spoken with recently, they are seeing continued growth in their studios because they had procedures in place that they were able to bring people on board and to bring new people on board as well. So while this year has definitely been a challenge, I think you all have risen to the occasion and you've done a fantastic job at doing what you do best. And so now let's talk about change. In a normal year, implementing the changes that you've done in this past year probably would have been very difficult, right? Now, we just happened to be in a circumstance where everybody was changing everything all the time. And so I think what happened is that many of us were more open to changes and more available to saying yes, right? Yes, and we can do this instead of saying, but, and going against the change. However, because of the way that this year worked, we were a little bit more open to change. And so you all were able to do very brave things because of the circumstances that we were in. Now, I want you to think for a second about, let's talk non-pandemic stuff, right? Okay. I want you to think about some of the big changes that you've wanted to roll out in your studio. So maybe it's shaking up the schedule. Maybe it's getting rid of a certain day of the week. Maybe it's shifting the way you deliver your lessons. Maybe it's changing the time, the amount of time that you teach, changing your lesson length. Maybe it's changing the overall structure of how you deliver lessons, going from a weekly model to a drop-in model, whatever that big desire was that you had in your brain. Now that you've implemented so many big changes over the past year, I want you to examine those other changes that you wanted to make. Do they seem a little less scary? Or are there still some blocks there? Because when it comes to making change, and when it comes to choosing to make change on your own or choosing to embrace the change that others make, we have a choice, right? We have two mindsets that we can come about using. We can be in a fixed mindset where if a challenge arises, then we feel the need to push back and to say but or no or that won't work. Or we have the ability to be in a growth mindset where when those problems arise or challenges come up, we are able to examine them and get curious and figure out how they might work. Ah, yes, Julie's got the first takeaway of the day, much more open to change. Yeah, that is one big positive that I think we've all learned from this past year. We are more mutable and more, what's the word that I'm looking for here? We are able to change quickly, and we are able to do so in a way that still honors who we are. Because we've kind of been chameleons in this past year, but we haven't lost sight. You haven't lost sight of what makes your studio special. You haven't lost sight of what makes your students special, right? All of these things are still there. So I want you to start thinking about the changes that you've made in your studio and to consider what are the things that you're going to keep moving forward. So I want you all to think for a second. What positive shifts did you make last year? And I want you to share them here with us today because I think that this is going to be a great learning out loud moment. What are some of the positive shifts that you made in your studio? I will share some of mine and some of the changes that my clients have made that just have me really inspired. So, and I just want to, the way I'm sharing this example, I hope that this shows you like these changes can be like itty bitty tiny things, right? So, one of the shifts that I made this year was out of necessity, right? I used to, for a dozen years, write down all the instructions for my students in their notebooks. And that was how I guided them in what they should do in practice. For my piano students, I would actually write them myself. And then for my voice students, I would guide them through the process of like writing them down, right? So this year, couldn't do that. Couldn't write my notes for people because I didn't have their notebooks with me. So the shift that I made was to use my, online lesson platform to write the notes and send them. And part of that shift was including parents in on those notes. So not only were they getting delivered to the email that their child, and if it was a young child, the parent had given permission for me to email that, but I was also copying the parents on the lesson plans. And I didn't realize at the time what a positive shift this was going to be, but what has happened is that now I have parents who are more engaged with practice at home, who are more aware of what's going on. And I was thinking, okay, what does it look like when people come back into my studio? And I just going to go back to writing things down by hand again? No, I think I'm going to keep the procedure that I have in place now in typing up the notes, because not only was it allowing me to keep track or keep more in touch with my clients' parents, but it was also giving me a better way to keep track of what was going on. My process before worked. I mean, I had a place where I would like jot down a single sentence about what that student was doing, but I much prefer the SOP, the standard operating procedure that I have in place now, because now I have a full example of everything that we've done because I can just look back at every single assignment and I can see every single detail. So that's one of the positive shifts that I made last year that I never would have considered making before because I was just doing what I did, right? And I didn't think there was anything wrong with it. And there really wasn't. But when I made this shift this past year, I started thinking about all the benefits that came about to it. So let's see what some of the positive shifts are that you guys made last year. Oh, so many good things. Laura says she was forced to switch to online tuition payments and she will never go back to collecting checks. 100%. That is also going to be me. Craig said, I finally made the leap of teaching online and it wasn't as horrible as I thought it would be. Brenda says that she was able to include my out-of-state online students in her studio events. What a beautiful thing. Yay to including parents in weekly lessons. Karen's using Zelle for tuition and she loves it. Julie says she's never going back to the often lost and forgotten notebook. Carrie's doing an overhaul. She's keeping online and moving into a different teaching model with some in-person teaching options. And she never thought this would be a possibility over a year ago. Beautiful. Yes, online payments that are reducing admin time, Janet. So good. So, when we come back to like those positive shifts, I want you to, here's a step-by-step process that I want you to go through in considering like all of the things that you did last year, right? So the first step is to just get clear, like what are all the changes that you've made this past year? Make a list, make a big old list with everything that you did, and get super specific, like even down to like the little things like writing lesson notes in an online platform. Make a list of all of those things. Once you make that list, I want you to look at it first off and consider like what are the things that really felt good to you, and start circling the ones that you felt were a really positive shift for your studio. And then let's get more specific about those things. Those things that you thought were positive shifts in your studio, I want you to answer 2 questions. 1, what is the benefit to my client? Okay, so start with them. What is the benefit that they receive with this new procedure that you're using? How does it make their lives easier? How does it make practice easier? How does it open up lines of communication more effectively? Make a list of the benefits to them. And then answer the question, how does it benefit the business? Right? So if we come back to that example that I had, right, of the online lesson notes, the benefit to the client is that it allows me to better communicate with parents first, right? And it allows them to have a better idea of what their child is doing. Two, it's so easy for my teens and my other older students to, like my adult students, to access their lesson notes and to access all the files that I'm sending to them because it's all in one place. And the benefit to the business is that on my end, it allows me to have a really nice way to keep track of everything that we've done. So if I'm wondering, like, when did we start that piece? When did we do, when did I first share this exercise for them? I can look back in the assignments list and I can find everything. It's right there. And it's so much more detailed than it was in the way that I was keeping my things before. Carrie, great question. I am actually using my music stuff because it was something I was already using, but I was not using the lesson notes feature. I will take that back. I actually was using that feature with online lessons. So if I was doing, if a student couldn't come in because of like snow or, they had a transportation conflict or something like that, or if they were mildly ill and they were taking a lesson from home, then I would use the lesson notes to send it to them. But now that we've gotten into the practice of doing it and we've been doing it for a year, I've decided to keep that because I think it's more effective than what we had been doing in the past. Sally says that she loves Goodwill Drive. I think you mean Google Drive, but I'm not sure, to send assignments. Yeah, it's a great feature. I love it. I think it's absolutely amazing. Okay, so those are the steps, right? You make a list of all the things. You sit down and consider what are the things that you want to keep. Then you ask yourself the two questions. How does this benefit the client? How did this benefit the business? And you get clear on those answers. Now, for a second here, just because I had to include this for today. So this is not like the best segue, but bear with me, my friends. I want to talk about fixed versus growth mindset. And I think most of you here are growth mindset based teachers, right? You are here to learn, you're here to grow. And I just wanted to highlight this beautiful blog that I think that you would really enjoy. So I'm going to see if I can actually screen share this here. Let's see if the screen share looks pretty good when I do this. Yeah. Okay, awesome. So this comes from brainpickings.org, and it's a fun place to get cool information here. And they have a great blog post that's about fixed versus growth mindsets. These are the two basic mindsets that like shape our whole lives. And there's a fantastic chart down here. It's probably hard to see if you're on mobile, but I'm going to be sending you a link to this blog post so that you can check it out for yourself. And it highlights what I've been talking about here, right? If we are in a fixed mindset, when we are faced with challenges or obstacles, or we know that we have to have effort in something, or if criticism happens, we basically get into like a shutdown mode. We ignore useful negative feedback. We avoid challenges. We give up easily. And here's another thing that I think is really interesting with fixed mindset, we are scared of the success of others. So if you find yourself feeling, now this mindset, we can, have elements of fixed or growth mindset everywhere in what we do, right? So it's not like you just choose that you are fixed mindset or growth mindset. You're constantly having to come back to this. So if we fear the success of other people, then, or I should say, when we are seeing this, back it up, Sarah. If we see people who are successful and we have that little tinge that like we feel threatened by their growth, that is a sign of fixed mindset. We can shift that by finding lessons and inspirations in the success of others. So it's just this like really fascinating read. I thought you guys would absolutely love that. So I'll come on back here to the screen. I want to definitely send that blog post to you because I think that it's not only a powerful tool to be aware of the two different mindsets as a teacher, right? It's powerful as a business owner, and learning how to run your studio and just being a good human being, but it's also powerful as a teacher. So when you see students who are avoiding challenges or avoiding obstacles and they're giving up easily, teaching them about growth mindset can be a powerful way to help them along. So just that little extra thing here today. So coming back to what we were talking about, coming back, what will you keep this year? What will you keep? So that's the first question. And some of you have already answered some of those things and listed the things that you want to keep in your studio. And then the next part of the question comes up. What will you choose to release? What will you choose to release? So by choosing to use the online lesson, I keep coming back to that one example, but I think it's really useful. In keeping the online assignment format that I wanted to use, what I am releasing for myself is I no longer have to print those assignment pages, right? I no longer have to keep printing those out and writing on them every week. And I no longer have to worry if my student doesn't show up with their binder and we can't see what we were working on. So, when we choose to keep something at the same time, we are like releasing something else. I see some things here. Craig's going to keep teaching online. Oh, Amy's going to keep her pre-scheduled Zoom makeup time. Absolutely. Make it simple, right? So that's the challenge over the next month here, is to really sit down and consider, what are the things that you want to keep? What are the things that you want to keep doing? And then thinking about, how do they benefit your studio? Now, I have typed up some show notes for you that have a little bit more details in that exercise that I mentioned. So if you want to get a hold of those, if you drop a change below, then the Savvy Sara bot will deliver you those steps that I've gone over today, and she will also deliver the blog post that I mentioned, because I think it's super fun and I really hope that you enjoy reading it. So I want to thank you all for being here today. I'm really excited about what's going to be coming up in the future here. And the next month, I'm going to have a couple of special guests who I'm bringing on. Our last guest was Jana Carlson, and we had so much fun with her talking about websites. We've got Doug Harvey coming up in April, and another special guest at the very end of the month, and I'll tell you more details about that in the future. Oh, thank you so much, Brenda. I'm glad that you found this as good food for thought. I see a lot of other people here who are sharing all the great things that they're going to be keeping in their studios as they move forward. It's a powerful step, my friends. If you enjoyed today, please let your other teacher friends know about that. Know that we are here every week on Wednesday, and I always look forward to chatting with you here. If you are looking for more support in your business, the social media course is open. So if you are interested in learning more about that little course here, let me know by putting a social media below. We are going to be doing some massive updates in that course and some good workshops that are going to be released towards the very beginning of the summer here. And they're only going to be released to the social media members. So if that's something that you want to learn about, let me know. All right. Thanks so much for being here, everyone. I appreciate you. And I look forward to seeing you next week. In the meantime, stay savvy and stay you, because you are an amazing music teacher, and there's nobody quite like you in this world. And I think you're pretty dang awesome. So thanks for being here, and we will see you next week. Bye, everybody.